Welcome. This is the Heavy Shift. It's a Sunday, I know, but we got a special event. I've got a couple of solid guests here. I've got Dino, and I'm going to pronounce your last name wrong. So if you want to introduce yourself, I've got Dino from Fear Factory here. I'm pretty stoked to have you here, mate. You're in Perth. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing great, and the correct way to say my name is Dino Cazares.
I was going to say it like that.
Yeah, you can say it like that.
Cazares.
But if you really want to say it, the Latin way, the Mexican way is Cazares. Cazares.
Yeah. And also, I don't want to forget, we've got Perry from, I'm probably going to say your guitar company wrong. A little bit closer there, Perry.
Ormsby Guitars.
Ormsby Guitars.
Yeah. Speak up, mate.
Yeah, so we got a whole thing happening here. But let's jump into, I had like a few sort of planned questions mentally in my head. You've got a 30-year career, or 30-plus year career.
Hold on. You already did ask me a question, like how do I like being here, or the reason why I'm even here.
We need to crack it, mate.
Oh yeah,
yeah. If you listen closely,
the Single Fin Summer Ale.
Single Fin Summer Ale from Fremantle.
Is that a Rockingham local?
No, it's a Fremantle, so close enough, man. Just
Fremantle local.
Yeah, just a little bit north.
All right, let's try it. Hear it.
Yep. Oh, that's
go.
crisp, right? That is crisp.
Let me see.
What do you think?
Well, it's not Mexican beer, but it's good.
What, like Dos Equis or like...
Tecate.
Is that how you say it? Tecate.
I've heard people say Tecate, mate. Tecate.
Double X's.
Exactly.
Anyways.
But it's Tecate.
We could talk about beer if you want.
Hold on.
Yeah,
so
what?
Let me get into the reason why I'm even here.
In Perth.
In Rockingham.
Right. In Rockingham, yes.
Not just Perth, Rockingham specifically.
Yeah.
Because that's like a little bit outside of Perth, right? How far are we?
Yeah, like 45 minutes, aren't we?
That far?
Perry? Yeah.
Well, I really couldn't tell. Yeah.
Only an hour and a half.
I really couldn't tell because we were, driving here in a nice sports car, so we got here pretty quick.
You do have a nice vehicle, Perry. I was pulled up next to you yesterday.
We didn't want to talk about it, but I'm just saying we got here quicker than probably that we should have. But anyways, so
nothing illegal happening, right?
I've been on tour through Australia with Soulfly. We did this thing called the Good Things Festival that happened in Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. So we, Perry here said, hey, since you're going to be here, why don't we get you out? Why don't you stay a little longer, and we'll get you out to Perth. So you can come over here and do a guitar clinic at the Ormsby Guitars headquarters. And I was like, perfect. So the last show was in Sydney, and so literally like, Tuesday I was on a flight back over here to Perth, and I've been here ever since.
Nice.
And then I met you yesterday.
Yeah.
And then here I am in Rockingham on your podcast.
Dude, it's amazing. I'm like I'm going to try and keep it cool, man. The 13-year-old myself is just losing his absolute mind. Like, I remember listening to Linchpin, cheers, in my room, and just, if I could go back and tell myself, hey, dude, you're going to meet this guy in person, he would just be like, oh, my God. Because I remember having my really shitty Ashton guitar in my hand, trying to work out Fear Factory.
Obviously, you got to get an Ormsby now.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about selling all my guitars and grabbing one.
Do it.
A Dino version, right?
Yes.
Actually, I did want to, while we're on guitars, how does that handle like switching between heavy to clean? Like, is it a versatile guitar?
Yeah, of course, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Cool. Now I can hear you, Perry. Sweet. Sorry. Let's rewind it back. Where were we at?
So you were saying, how do you go from heavy tone to a clean tone, and if the guitars are built that way?
Yeah, on the Ormsby. Yeah,
as you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, like a guitar, we build them as guitars. We don't build them specifically as a metal guitar, although that's our customer base. But you've got to be able to play cleans, So we do, like with our pickups, for example, we do little things that allow it to be cleaner when you need it to be cleaner. Or we modify the pots so that they're cleaner when you turn them down than what they would regularly be. But we use a lot of extended scale lengths, so that naturally gives a better sound,
resonance,
cleaner and resonance. Yeah,
it's better for low tuning if you're doing it.
Did I also see you do heads as well yesterday? Because there was an Ormsby head.
Yeah, I've made a few.
Yeah, okay. So that's not something that's in a production line or anything.
Focus. It was a fun little project. I think early, maybe 2010. I got into or maybe 2008 actually.
Yeah.
That's when I made some heads, and there was a little bit of success there. I finished one off. I turned it on, It worked. I played it for 5 minutes. I raced up to the local music store to show them, and it sold while I was talking to the guys.
No way.
I hadn't even put it in a case or a cabinet or whatever, and they sold it for $2,500, $3,000. They
Really?
didn't know what price to put on it. They didn't know it was for sale. They just said, "Well, we've sold it for you for $3,000 if you want."
Sweet.
And I'm like, "Wow, that's my first one, and I haven't even played a full song on it yet."
Really?
What year was that?
I think it was 2008. So I made some more, and then I made a couple other different heavier designs, like higher gain. But it's not my main focus. I don't know that we'll ever make them again. If I do, it'll just be a fun project for the boys in the workshop to have something, come in on a Saturday and let's do some projects together, some fun stuff. But yeah, we're not going into production making heads. But then I say that sort of stuff, and then 2 months later we're doing it. So, I don't think we're going to do it.
Have you played through it, Dino?
What?
No. Okay. It's not a metal head then.
The ones that you saw are more bluesy. They record really well for lead.
Blues translates into metal pretty well, right?
Yeah. It's really, really nice sound, but it's not a metal amp.
Okay.
But the lead tone, a lot of metal bands have used it, borrowed those amps to just record their leads locally. It's got a nice clean.
It's cool.
There you go.
It was a cool session yesterday, right? Like I'm going to, say something really like that I had noticed from like an outside perspective. Mm-hmm. You are really good with handling like people, because they come up and tell you like their story of how they discovered Fear Factory, right? Like, like even I just said like a story. I've got many, but I won't bore you with them. Yeah. But, like a guy come up to you, they're really nervous, right? Mm-hmm. And they're telling you about how important what your art has done to them, right? Mm-hmm. Like it probably got them through like high school, got them through maybe a breakup, whatever struggle that they're going through, or even just how they discovered you and how much joy it brings. Mm-hmm. And you gave each person like as much time as you could. You asked them, what was your name? And you were fantastic with people, mate. So like, how is that? Like, is that something you've learnt over time or to deal with, or?
Well, it wasn't that difficult because I'm in the same shoes as they are, because I was that guy too, and I'm still that guy because I still look as music as therapy. People tell me stories about how they've gone through depressing times, how they've felt like killing themselves, or they've gone through cancer, and how music has helped them through those times. And I can relate to them because me writing the music helps me
100%
get those feelings out as well. There's times where I've been there was one time I was wrongly accused and I was arrested. It's a song called Scapegoat. The lyrics on that deal with that situation that I went through, and it's a very touching song for me. So sometimes when we played it live, I would cry.
Oh man,
it was like it'd bring me back those memories, and it was kind of therapeutic in a way because it helped me get those
getting
feelings
it out, right?
Yeah. And so I can relate to those people when they tell me those stories, and I like to give everybody a few seconds, not a minute or two, to hear what they got to say, because they've been waiting some guy said, I've been waiting 20 years to tell you this. It's like, and
they're getting it out like you're getting your song out. Like,
correct.
It might not mean a lot to you, and I don't mean it in a rude way. Like, we're all individuals and we live our own lives, right? But this, to them, meeting you is like, they're going to remember that, and it might just be a Tuesday to you, right? And they're going to remember that moment. So it might be really hard. They might catch you on a moment where you're like, you got bills pounding up, you got this happening, and then they're like, hey, Dino, expecting you to be, this guy that wants to be their best friend, right? So
I usually have a decent memory if I talk to them more than once.
Yeah, okay.
If I just met somebody once and they told me a little bit of something for a couple of minutes, I might forget. But if they but if they said, hey, like if I met them twice, or they tweeted me, or they Instagrammed me or whatever, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that, and then after twice I'll remember it.
Yeah, that's
even
cool.
if it's 20 years later. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I'll see you in 20 years, and you'll be like, nah, mate, doesn't ring a bell.
No, I mean I remember your name, or maybe I won't remember the name of the station, but I'll remember that I talked to you.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
You know what I mean?
And I totally understand that. Like, you're an international artist, right? You travel the world, you've met probably thousands upon thousands of people that have told you different stories, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to remember one?
Like I said, it has to be more than once. I have to meet them more than once and just, talk to them a few times, and then I'll remember. But
I'm going to sort of segue into something because I want to like hear some like crazy stories, right, of your 30 years in music. And have you ever had a fan be a little bit too much?
Of course.
Oh yeah, okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's a funny one.
Oh, okay, tell it. Let's go.
Where it was in France, and I was on stage, and I was wearing shorts. I usually wear shorts. On stage, and I was wearing shorts, and I got a little too close to the front, and a girl reached up and grabbed my nuts and squeezed them really hard, and I was like, oh, I actually lost my breath there because it just, she grabbed them really hard, and I remember going back and listening to the recording. You can hear you can hear the chords, all messed up. I'm like, what was that? I'm like, I had to tell everybody what happened. So.
How was she that close? But there's usually
there was no barricade. This is way back in the day. Yeah. There was no barricade and stuff like that. So I got a little too close. Sometimes I like to get close to the fans because sometimes you want to feel them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mean in that way.
You did.
I don't mean in that way, but sometimes you just when you get closer, you can feel the vibe better, right?
She's got the best. The best.
She was able to reach up and just grab them, And then there was another time where we played a show, and it was in Los Angeles. It was it was a thing for a music convention, right? And we played, and right after we played, I was hot and sweaty, and I was dying for water. There was no water. I go backstage, and I was burping from the Single Fin Summer Ale.
Not endorsed by.
Anyway, so I go backstage, and I'm dying of thirst. I saw this ice tray with, nice cool water, and so I decided to drink out of it.
Yep.
Right? My singer was like, "No," he pushed it down. And I go, "What the hell? I'm thirsty." And he goes, I just washed my feet in there." I'm like, "Oh my God."
That would have been okay, right?
No, have you seen his feet? No.
This is Burton's feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, while we're on the topic of him, I don't want to talk about that too much, but what I did want to ask is, why does he have Slipknot symbols on his arms?
That was way before Slipknot, homie.
Did they steal his logo?
I don't know. You got to ask them.
Yeah.
If you ever get Corey Taylor on your show, ask him.
Corey, you're invited, but why does Burton have your symbol, or why do you have Burton's symbol?
Oh, come on, dude. We were way before Slipknot. Come on, you know that.
I know that. Sorry. I just thought you might have the story of it. But anyways, going back to the 30-year career, right? Like, we touched on this, like, a couple of things yesterday. I think I was asking some annoying questions that were kind of like left ball, where everybody was kind of like focusing on the Fear Factory story. I was like asking questions like, Limp Bizkit asked, like, not necessarily Limp Bizkit actually, but like their manager asked you to be in the band or try out for the band, right?
Come down to rehearsals.
Yeah, come down to rehearsals. Do you remember Perry as well? Do you remember they had like he
did say you'd be perfect, so come down to rehearsals.
Oh yeah. Do you remember they did that Guitar Center like competition? No. That just bombed?
No. I don't remember that.
Oh, anyways, it doesn't matter. It was like super controversial.
I'm not Limp Bizkit. I don't remember what Limp Bizkit does.
Hey, I'm just trying to like tell you a story. Anyway, so like I was wondering if this was around that time when they did like this massive like promotion, but it was just like a gimmick, right? And got all these poor guys and they waited in lines with their guitars and like dressed up, and anyways, they had to sign waivers and nothing that they played was actually theirs. Limp Bizkit owned it or whatever. They were going to do this documentary and it fell on its butt, right? Like nothing happened with it. So with where I'm going to connect back to is like I wonder if they actually had no intention of doing anything and then just wanted to poach you. So
I think that'd be a question for Fred Durst.
Fred Durst, come on, mate.
To Fred Durst.
We're going to get Corey Taylor. We're going to get Fred Durst.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can ask them all the questions that I cannot answer.
But well, that's kind of cool that you didn't like. Oh yeah, that actually comes back into another question I had. Indigo Flow. Did you play on that one?
No.
So what's his thing where he goes like Christian and Dino in the house? What's with that?
What does that mean? We're in the house. We're in the same area. We're hanging out.
Oh, that's all
it was, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a shout out.
We never played on it, yeah.
Yeah.
But we were there from when they were making the first record. We actually had met them before they made the record, like about 6 months before that in Florida, because they're from, I believe, Jacksonville. Yeah. So we were on tour with Iron Maiden, and they came out to the show.
Dude.
They were playing us Limp Bizkit demos on our bus, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that first record is really cool, right? Like, they went commercial after that, and like, I'm into it. Some people aren't. That's cool. But that first record is just totally different. What about you, Perry? Did you like it? Were you a part of the Limp Bizkit crew? I know we're going away from Fear Factory.
My kids like Limp Bizkit. But I was never,
they were huge, man.
They're hits, I kind of know.
Yeah.
But,
okay. We won't give that any more attention.
The guitarist is Wes.
Wes is amazing. Are you mates with him? Through the scene.
Yeah. I don't really know him that well.
Yeah. Okay. We're not going to reel off your mates like I'm friends with.
Not going to what?
Ozzy Osbourne. I know this guy. No, I said we're not going to reel off your mates.
Ozzy more than I have with any guys in Limp Bizkit.
Dude, what's Ozzy like? Is he what everyone perceives is just this like?
Yes.
I've actually had lunch and dinner with Ozzy.
Dead set.
And the first time I met him, it was around the same time that they did the Osbournes. In fact, the Osbournes came a couple of years later, I think.
Wow.
He's not the same as that. That showed everyone he was this bumbling fool.
Yeah, exactly, right.
He's just chill to me. And we were actually, you and I, Dino, were sitting in the Rainbow one day having lunch. Rainbow's bar in LA. And Ozzy walked in.
You know what that's for, right?
For an AA meeting. Yeah,
for AA meeting. At the it's a bar.
Yeah.
They actually have Alcoholics Anonymous meetings at a bar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Rainbow.
Wouldn't that be tempting?
The Rainbow is the local.
Well, that's the best place to try to beat it, right?
But that's the local in Hollywood for all of the celebs and musos. They would go there for a drink. I mean, I've been to the Rainbow.
So do you have to be someone to get in there?
No, you don't.
So I could walk in there.
You can walk in there, and the Rainbow was where it all happened back in the 80s, right?
Oh, really?
And I went there
even
to
before
experience
that, 60s and 70s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I went there to experience it 2008. Walked in there. It's the 80s are dead, mate. It's not going to, nothing's happening here. Went back later on that trip and probably met 5 or 6 people that night that I have on CD.
Wow.
And the next trip, we went there every night and we met so many people. And it's their local, so they're chilled out. They want to know who you are.
Really?
Who are you and why have you got a funny accent? Come and sit with me and tell me your story. And then next thing you're talking to, sitting there. We were talking over lunch about Alexi because it popped into my mind that we were at the Rainbow and Alexi called us over to say, what's your accent?
Alexi from Children of Bodom.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So come and have a drink with us,
He's from
yeah, but he'd have an accent as well, right?
Finland?
Yeah, he's Finland. Europe.
Finland.
He's from
Finland.
Europe.
He's from another country.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. The Rainbow is just that kind of place. Lemmy has his own seat.
Yep.
That's the photo that I had with you, got you to sign yesterday, right? And you're in Rainbow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was a titty bar.
No.
Because that would have made the story a little bit more crazier, right?
Well, at some ways it was a titty bar, yeah. A lot of things happen there, trust me.
Yeah. So is it like, because I've heard of the Viper Room. Is it kind of like that as well?
Viper Room is
down the street.
Down the street and across the road. Viper Room is all these bars that you've heard of, like the Whiskey A Go-Go.
Yeah.
To bring it back to local terms, the whiskey is smaller than Amplifier.
Really?
If you include the outdoor
area. Okay.
Not the bit with the bowling and the shit that they got there.
Oh, I'm not a fan of the new sort of thing.
The old school Amplifier is bigger and holds more people than the whiskey. It's just that the whiskey's been there for 50, 60 years.
Well, the whiskey technically is 550 people, right? But they've crammed in 1,000 people.
In Australia, that'd be limited to 120.
Dude, isn't that like a fire issue?
Yeah.
Like if something happens?
Our laws are a little more strict.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, how are like RSAs and whatever over there?
There's payola.
Is it really? I've been to America, but like, pardon?
You ever heard of payola?
No, sorry.
Where you pay people off?
Oh, yeah, pay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, the drinking culture is a lot different over there.
Yeah, well, I was in
the drinking laws.
The drinking culture. Like for example, you go to Northbridge to bring it back local.
Yeah.
You don't want to really get off that main strip, and even if you're on the main strip at 2 a.m, you're watching what's going on.
It's shady.
It's shady.
Yeah.
And you see fights in a line to get into a nightclub.
Mm.
I've been to the US.
You guys are losing me on this one, but
I've been to the US 14 times.
You've actually played at Capital, which is Amplifier.
No, but he's talking about just drinking laws.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about venues.
Culture,
yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
I've never seen a fight in the US, and you go out when you're on a trip there, and I've been 14 times.
14.
You go out and drink every night, right?
Yeah.
You go to the dodgy places. You go to the big places.
Dive bars.
Never seen a fight. Never seen a scurry. But you go into Northbridge, you're going to see that all day.
Yeah.
All night.
Well, it depends on where you hang out at.
Yeah, but Australians can be a little bit violent on alcohol, I believe.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know, mate.
I
think they need control.
I have a theory.
Yeah, what is it?
Our shots are so small.
Yeah.
You've got to have you Jack and Coke. You've got to have 6, 10, 12 of them. Over there,
Yeah,
they're
stronger,
significantly
much
stronger, and you're buzzing off too.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not hyped up on sugar. You don't have to have a Red Bull and vodka to wake yourself up.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yep.
I remember.
I've seen plenty of fights in Los Angeles, even in the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where the Rainbow was getting so packed, and it was like a mixture of people. You had gangsters, you had metalheads, you had old school rockers, you had celebrities, and it was just a mix of people. Sometimes don't always work.
Why there, but because it has the history.
Because back in the early 2000s, I called some of my friends, Be Real from Cypress Hills, big weed head.
Dude.
Everybody could smoke weed there.
Wow.
So it became Little Amsterdam. They called it Little Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Right? And so next thing you know, Be Real coming, then he called all his people, then his people called those people, and those were all a completely different culture of hip-hop, rappers, and gangsters and stuff that I call them in. Then it became a violent area there for a while.
Yeah.
But it chilled out after a couple of years, but it was pretty crazy.
That was a question I wanted to ask you about yesterday, but I felt like I was stealing too much of
What was the question?
About, dude, like that was actually one of my favorite albums also. It didn't introduce me to Cypress Hill, was Temples of Boom did, but Skull and Bones. You played guitar on that album, right?
Correct.
Yeah, on the CD2.
On CD2,
Yeah,
the Bones CD.
Yeah, the Bones CD.
Yeah.
And Rock Superstar. What a tune, man.
Yeah, but I wasn't on that one.
Oh,
I wasn't
dude,
on
really?
that song, yeah.
Do you know what also...
I wish I was, but I wasn't on that song.
Dude, it's solid, man. Has Chino, introduced the song, right? And then also on the rap version has Eminem. Huge.
Well, we were all hanging out. Everybody was hanging out at that time.
Yeah.
Nobody was married. We're all single, just having a blast.
Yeah.
That's like the early 2000s, 2001, 2002. And we were just, all partying at the Rainbow, and we all just became friends. And next thing like, hey, you want to play on my record? Yeah, I'll play on your record. Hey, you'll play on his record. It's just, it was just, everybody was just kind of like, appearing on everybody's records. And so it was great.
Dude, that album, very important, along with Digimortal. Those two albums I had side by side when I was a kid. I don't think I paid for either of them. Sorry.
It's all good.
I think I stole one off my uncle.
You bought a T-shirt. It's all good.
Dude, okay. We can get to T-shirts later, but I'm a massive T-shirt collector. So like I have Fear Factory T-shirts. I've got them all. Blue Grape.
Blue Grape. Yeah.
Blue Grape. I did want to bring them up.
They don't exist anymore.
Right?
That's been gone for years.
Dude, but they were Roadrunner, right?
Yep. The same guy who owned Roadrunner Records also owned the merch company called Blue Grape.
Yeah.
He also owned a publishing company called the All Blacks, which is the same thing as the rugby team.
Oh, really?
The All Blacks.
Yeah.
So the publishing company called that, and he ended up selling everything for like $100 million. Crazy.
Why wouldn't you, right?
Well, a lot of the artists felt really ripped off because
I know.
he made $100 million.
He just took his money and run.
Yeah.
But I've heard some stories that Roadrunner were only good to the top artists. Like, Slipknot were always sweet. If you weren't Slipknot, they weren't looking after you.
That's every label. Every label.
How were they with you guys?
But in the beginning, before they signed bands like Nickelback and went more commercial.
Yeah, can I vomit for a moment?
They were pushing all the bands.
Yeah, exactly.
But then as soon as Nickelback came in, it just kind of like stopped. They kind of like prioritized Nickelback and kind of neglected a lot of other bands. And that's when a lot of bands started getting dropped from the record company.
Yeah. Because
that was when the first backlash of Nickelback came along, because a lot of the artists that were on the label were pretty pissed off that Nickelback just came in out of nowhere, and boom, they had a hit song.
Yeah, this is how you remind
me. Pretty much neglected everybody else and started pushing them. And so that's when the first backlash started coming towards Nickelback.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of grew from there and just got bigger and bigger. Dude, as far as the backlash.
It was at the point, man, you could flip over the CD. If it had Roadrunner Records on it, you bought it. You didn't listen to it, you bought it.
Yes. Everybody felt the same way, that you see a cover or you just see the Roadrunner logo, you bought it because you were guaranteed it was going to be something good.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like all the festivals across Europe were like 90% Roadrunner bands on the festival. I mean, there was Wacken Fest was going to be called Roadrunner Fest because there was so many bands on it. Just stuff like that.
Did they look after you then?
Yeah.
Just so you have good sort of stories with Roadrunner.
Yeah, good and bad.
Yeah.
I mean, any record company you're with, sometimes you got to fight for your artist.
Yeah.
Whether it's the manager or whether it's the actual artist, you got to fight sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is.
Because I know, like, there's Glassjaw famously told people to download the album, don't buy it, because like their first release on Roadrunner, Roadrunner completely stuffed them over, so they're like, download it, don't buy it from them. So I guess, like,
Well, at the time, us artists never really made money from our CDs.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Versus now where you make nothing out of it.
See, when you signed your record company, they're going to give you an advance. The time they could say they gave you $100,000 advance. You would have to sell X amount of CDs to pay that money back. But then your bill keeps going higher and higher because you got to make videos, you got to do promotion, you got to do marketing, you got to do tour support. So next thing you know, like 6 months down the line, you're already like $300,000 in the hole. So you owe that money back to the record company, so they take it out of the CDs. So 99% of the artists never really made money off CDs.
Yeah.
Unless you were like a big pop artist.
Yeah. So that's why they could be a bit salty, right?
Yeah. So we never really made money, so it didn't really matter to us. And we didn't really make money off radio either, because we weren't exactly a radio band. There wasn't a lot of band on Roadrunner records that were radio bands until Nickelback. But so now with the digital age, thank God for streaming music, artists like, the most obscure black metal, death metal band can actually make money from having people stream their music.
Yeah.
Right? It may not be a lot, but it's still more than what they were getting before, because we were never played on the radio. And we never really made money off CDs.
That actually goes into a question I did want to ask you. So you've had a 30-plus year career, right?
Correct.
And, like, you don't just get here from, like, straight away rock star sort of thing. What crappy jobs did you have to do to get, to slave your way?
Well, one of my favorite jobs was I started out as a maintenance man for a really prestige hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met a lot of actors. Yeah. And I also met a lot of women too, older women, because I was like 19, 20 years old, and
cleaning their toilets,
unclogging the toilets.
Yeah, dealing with their pipes.
I would get I would get a work order. One of the women in room 401 has something wrong with her television. She needs you to go look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at something else when I get in the door. You know what I mean? Like she answers the door in bra and underwear.
Yeah, yeah.
And you might want to close that door.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nate, do you want to close that, or do you want to tell them what's happening? Yep. Nate, do you want to go tell them that we got an interview? Yeah, cool, man. Thanks.
So anyway, a woman answers the door in her bra and underwear, and you're like, she never really had a problem with her TV. Far out. And I'm like, okay. I was young. I was
little
like,
Dino.
Yeah. I was like, hell yeah. Those are the kind of stories I have at that hotel.
Dude. So what was
my favorite one?
Yeah.
Is James Caan. He's an actor.
Yeah, yep.
He was in The Godfather and many, many movies.
Oh, actually, yes. Yes, I know the guy.
He would come in his Ferrari.
Yep.
He would come in, park his Ferrari, and go upstairs, take a girl up into the room, right?
As you do.
One morning, I get there like 7:30 in the morning. He's out in the parking lot yelling, I can't say I can't cuss, but
if you want to.
That bitch, she stole my car, that blah, blah, blah. He's like, we're like, what happened? You get on the phone, call the cops right now, call the cops. And so we had to call the cops. What happened was he brought a hooker to his room. In the morning, she took his keys and stole his car. And so I never saw him again after that, but he used to be a regular.
Yeah, yeah.
But I never saw him again.
So this is in LA, right?
Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah. Is that where you're native to?
I'm native to California, but not Los Angeles.
Yeah, okay, yep. So I just sort of wanted to sort of pave the way, because everybody just, we all have a backstory, right? We all start in our bedroom, sort of,
So anyway, I was a maintenance man. So
maintenance man. That's where we going.
That's exactly what I was doing. But before that, on the weekends, actually, maintenance man at a hotel, prestigious hotel.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, I would work at a record store.
Oh, cool.
It's called the Rock Shop. It was on Hollywood Boulevard. The address was 6666 Hollywood Boulevard.
Dead set.
We had a huge record store. Right?
Wow.
And this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, when hair metal was huge. Right, death metal was big, so we carried all kinds of rock and metal. We specialized more in rock and metal and punk more than commercial stuff. Like, sure, we had some Michael Jackson,
and they could
records.
still make a business out of that.
Yes, because it was just
it
was an influx of. You got to realize that was when late 80s, early 90s, that's when some of those bands were like massive.
Like
all through MTV.
Or like Cannibal Corpse or something like that?
I'm not even talking about those bands. I'm talking about hair metal bands.
Oh, sorry. You said death metal. You said death metal.
No, I did say death metal, hair metal, and punk.
Ah, yes. So like you mean like the Offspring sort of punk or Green Day or...
Yeah, I think it might have been before
Offspring that, so like...
blew up.
Oh, yeah.
Or before Green Day blew up. I'm sure that's really
Black
all you
Flag.
know. I'm sure that's all really you know here in Australia because those bands tour a lot. Offspring and Green Day.
Oh,
I know they're massive here.
Yeah, they are.
Offspring was just here, so you can't tell me
Dude.
no. Anyways, so back to the story is that, just punk, like all kinds of punk, early punk, Black Flag, Ramones, all that stuff, right? But it was before Green Day and Offspring were even, before they even started, I think.
Yeah.
But we sold a lot of death metal. We did. We just metal in general because back in the late 80s, early 90s in California, death metal was massive. Grindcore, death metal, speed metal, all that stuff was massive. But what was even bigger was hair metal. So people would come in and buy music, right? And they would look to me to tell them what's new and what's cool and what's bad.
Did you have a bad hairstyle?
No, I just had long hair.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the hair metal scene was perms
I
for the boys.
Long hair.
Yeah, cool. You were sweet.
Yeah. Sweet? Okay.
Yeah. Perry knows what I mean. Yeah.
He didn't dress as a lady.
Yeah. Yeah, sweet means like you were cool.
Hold on. I'm trying to get to the story here. Sorry. You guys
sorry.
Keep, So anyway, so girls would come in, beautiful, hot, hair metal chicks would come in, and they want that Bon Jovi shirt, or they want that Skid Row shirt, or they want that Motley Crue shirt, but they didn't have enough money. So we found other ways for them to pay for it.
Oh, God.
Why you look so red?
Because it's probably the beer.
It was very common in LA.
I might be a little bit embarrassed.
It was very fun working there. I had a great time.
Yeah.
It was some of my best memories.
So what, you were like 18?
So yeah, I was like 19. So a couple of years later, when we put out the first Fear Factory record, all those friends and all those customers that would come in, I would say, hey, I'm in a band called Fear Factory, and our record's going to come out next month. All right, I go, come down here on this day, come buy a record. So that day, when the record came out, Souvenir Machine, we sold 60 cassettes that day, cassettes.
You would have been pretty stoked, right?
That was like, wow, it's a record, you know what I mean? So we had to order more, and then we ordered 100 more, and then we sold all those out like the following weekend because we actually played in the store, Fear Factory. You can actually go on YouTube
and find it.
Put in, Fear Factory, Hollywood Boulevard, The Rock Shop, and you'll see a video of us playing outside. And there was like hundreds of people, and we caused a commotion on Hollywood Boulevard because there was too many people and traffic, and it was just the cops came eventually and shut it all down. But that day we sold a heaps of cassettes.
But so Soul of the New Machine wasn't actually your first, right? There was Concrete.
Well, it was Concrete, but that deal fell through.
Yep.
We actually recorded the record, but we never signed the contract because the deal fell through.
Yep.
And so the guy who owned the record couldn't do anything with it for 10 years. So I don't know, 12 years later, he sold it to Roadrunner Records, and they ended up putting it out, and it came out Concrete.
That's a cool one. I really like it. Yeah, sounds really different.
Super raw. And
more death metal. Is that what you guys were sort of feeling, or?
Well, yeah, just
it's like unrefined,
we grew
maybe.
As a band, we grew as a band. We grew as writers. We grew as artists. We got better with lyrics.
How much time was there between the two?
Between what?
Between Concrete and Soul and New Machine.
A year apart. If that.
But you can hear like a massive change, right? It's almost like
you can hear a massive change between our first demo.
To
Concrete to Soul and New Machine to Demanufacture.
Yeah.
That was a massive jump. Demanufacture.
You guys were always progressing, right?
Always progressing. Exactly.
Yeah. I did have a question with that, but now I've forgotten it. It's all right. How was it back in?
Hear some more hair metal questions? Hair metal?
Oh, dude, actually, that was a pretty wild time, right? Like Guns N' Roses.
That was when you can go to
Yeah.
hair metal concerts and see anybody, Quiet Riot, Rat, whoever.
Yeah,
and
Warrant.
chicks are wearing nothing.
Wow.
Girls were wearing nothing. There was
what
like
a time.
in lingeries, you know, just a mini skirt and a bra. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. That was one of the best things about those times. Was
the music sucked, but the girls' outfits was good.
It's just everybody. It was very liberal. You know what I mean? You know, very open.
Didn't they turn the heaters on at the cat club, the cat house, to encourage less clothing? back in the day.
That's a question for Ricky Rackman.
Yeah.
But I've been to the Cows quite a few times. It was amazing.
Another LA club.
Amazing.
Yeah,
yes. Amazing
Wow.
times.
So sorry, D. So you've gone 14 times, Perry.
Yeah.
Is that how you guys met?
Yes. Yeah, we met at NAMM, which is a trade show for musical instruments. It's not necessarily open to the public. It's more industry only.
Yep.
And yeah, Dino popped up by our little display booth and didn't miss the opportunity to show him some stuff.
Oh, 100%,
Well,
right?
what I do is I like to go and, especially when these trade shows, there's 100 different guitar companies there, small to big, right? And so I'd like to go and I got to go check out what other people are doing, right? Because a lot of that inspires me to get my custom guitars made a certain way, or, hey, I saw this special cutaway. Can you add it to my guitar? Hey, I saw this great neck profile. Can you add it to my guitar? Hey, I saw this other kind of wood. Can you do it on my guitar? Because I was with Ibanez for 22 years.
So then it was Ibanez to Ormsby.
So I stumbled across his booth, and I'm like, okay, this is the guitar of this. Because I would go to all the different booths. Not just guitar, but I would go to guitar hardware stuff. You know what I mean? Like, other brands were showing off their bridges and their
Were you
their
shopping
tuners.
for a new guitar guy?
No.
No.
I was
So
not
you're
shopping.
still with Ibanez at the time?
No.
No.
Yeah, at the time, yes.
Yes.
When I first
Well,
met
you got-
Perry.
well, that's
so
pretty
I would
cool.
I
You
would
ditched
go
Ibanez.
around all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
different companies, and I would be like, okay, they are doing something amazing.
Yeah.
Whatever company it was that year. Well, when I stumbled across his stuff, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I picked up a guitar, and I was like, just instantly started playing on it. I'm like, this feels good. This feels really good. And I loved it. And so I kept, going around his, booth every year that he came through for like at least 2 or 3 years. We sparked up a friendship, and then eventually I'm like, look, I'm going to leave Ibanez. I want to go to another company, and he was the one that I chose out of all the ones
That's pretty cool.
that are at this convention every year.
A Perth company,
I could have stayed with Ibanez, but I
Yeah.
ended up wanting to leave.
And
to
like,
go somewhere
but did
else.
you know Ibanez personally like you know Perry?
Well,
Like,
what I liked about him is not only is he not pushing the envelope as far as guitar building, and there's don't get me wrong, there are other luthiers that are making some great guitars, but what I liked about him was that he was excited compared to some of the other guys I talked to.
Yeah.
Really excited, really into what he was doing, really into the woods, and he also. When you're with bigger companies, there's a lot of red tape. You know what I mean? It'll take 2 years before you get a signature guitar out, or you could take 6 months to a year before you even get a custom made guitar. He just maybe won the other day in 17 days.
That
I'm
8
sorry,
string, was it the 8
hours.
string?
17 hours. Sorry, 17 hours.
The 8 string?
Yeah.
Headless.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
insane,
I'm
that
just
one.
saying,
Yeah.
he's just like gun ho. He's excited. Let's fucking get to it. Let's do it. Boom. And he got it done. I'm like, wow. And 99% of the stuff is whatever I need, whatever I want, he'll make it. Whereas like other companies, they just take forever, or they'll give you excuses why they can't do it, or they don't want to give that artist that expensive wood. Just there's so many little things. And it was just like, or him, like I said, 17 hours, and he had a guitar, custom made guitar with different stuff he hasn't done before. Oh, for me, on a guitar, and it came out amazing.
Yeah, they are pretty sweet.
You saw it.
Yeah, I sat through you play. Zero Signal. Did you play?
So did I leave anything out, Perry?
I think that was pretty good.
There you go.
Yeah.
There was it wasn't a business deal. We joked around a little bit. Even the first time, there was a couple of little bit of banter.
Yeah.
And because the way I see it is, I want my clients to be friendly. I don't want it to be all contracts, right? And we had a little bit of banter, and then I think you might have sent a message or something, or backwards or forwards, and between the next, the second show, and then we met up again, and I think we sent you a guitar because you were doing some recording. So all right, we'll send you something, and I think you might have re-recorded the album, maybe.
Well, I recorded the song that I played yesterday. Recode with it.
And just from there, and then we caught up and we went and had lunch one day, and I don't even think we talked about guitars the first time. We just talked about stuff.
Just life, yeah.
And
well, he was very encouraging, but
Yeah.
at the time, I really couldn't make the jump yet. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make the jump. It wasn't because the guitars were bad or because the business deal would be bad or nothing like that. It was just like being with the company for 22 years. I've been loyal to Ibanez for 22 years. And it's like, okay, is this the right move? And I felt at one point, okay, this is the right move. And I need to move. After getting to know him and getting to know how Perry is and what he's into, he's into cars and he's into guitars. And I was like, this guy's cool. And so I can be partners with him. And so that's what I have. I'm not partners in
the company, but partners. Yeah,
exactly.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
So you guys are mates as well as,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. And I don't mean to bring back Ibanez back up again, but were you able, there's such a corporate company, did they have a face? You know what I mean? Like Perry's here, he's the owner.
Steve Vai.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a face.
A face is in like, like
the
know
company?
the owner, you're mates with him here with.
I don't know the owner at all. I've never met the owner.
See, there we go. See, it's more, they respect you as a person, not just as a business prospect.
I don't think that, I can't say that people work for the company didn't respect me, but the higher ups probably were more like, well, how much money are you going to make us?
Yeah, exactly.
How am I going to make money off you? That's how they look at it. But whereas the people who work in there, they're all about it. They love all the bands. They love all the artists.
Yeah. 100%. Like, why else would they work there, right?
Yeah.
If you're not passionate about what you're doing in that sort of field, right? Because it probably doesn't pay much.
Yeah. But there's a lot of decision makings.
Yeah.
The
as you said, red tape.
Yeah. A lot of the guys who own the companies and people who higher ups took a very long time just to make decisions. I mean, you're low on the totem pole compared to Vi, Joe Satriani, and Paul Gilbert and guys like that. You know what I mean? So just to get things done would take forever. And I'm an impatient guy. Perry can tell you that.
Is he? Hurry up.
But he's great.
Yeah.
He's great at it because, like I said, he knocked out a guitar in 17 hours.
But going back
him and Alex and Jet, sorry.
Yeah. The guitars are beautiful, 100%. But I'm just going to say, like, at the time when you were, like, with Ibanez, it was a smart decision because that was the guitar of that music, right? Like, being a young person, I really wanted an Ibanez 7-string, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, Korn, Limp Bizkit, yourself, you know what I mean? You guys all had them. So it's what we had to have, right?
Yep.
So,
but, you got to progress from there.
That's what I'm meaning. That was then.
Yeah.
This is now, right?
I know that.
Doesn't mean that they're...
Back then...
Yeah.
We're not even talking back then. Like, we're only talking like 6-7 years ago. Ibanez was trying to follow what he was doing, and they weren't exactly that successful.
Is that pretty humbling?
No, he knows exactly what I'm talking about because there have been guys at Ibanez that would go over to his booth and take photos closely of his guitars and try to
how do you
measure
feel about
everything that's going on.
There's definitely, like, sometimes I think this is really amazing because I can, of the top 10 guitar companies, 7 have done something that we innovated.
Wow.
Right? But at the same time, I think back and think I couldn't afford to get the trademark on that particular word because I was $100 short on paying the bill. Or I couldn't afford to put fuel in my car for a couple of weeks when that was happening, so I would catch the bus to work and hope that someone had come in and get their guitar restrung.
Wow,
so
man.
that I could afford lunch. And, I've come from $0 to what we've got now. And there's certainly some things I look back and think, geez, if that was different, it could be very different. But at the same time, I've achieved way more than I ever dreamed. So it's good. And you know what? I'm having fun. And it's not a job.
No,
I get to go and hang out in my workshop with some people that don't even feel like employees. They feel like they're coming in to hang out.
That's pretty rad, right?
We make some cool stuff. And yeah, it is work, but you do have times, but everyone has that. We just have a hell of a lot less of it. We have a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I go in there to chill out.
That's good.
Go in there to,
but that's where the success of it will come from because you enjoy it, right?
Yeah,
it's not a chore.
Yeah, that's
right.
Well, it's just like me playing music.
Exactly.
It's like, people are like, how do you like going away from home and touring around the world? I'm like, I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. And those that can't do it, stop.
Look where I'm at. I'm in one of the farthest, countries
most
in the
isolated
world.
city in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm even further. I'm in Rockingham.
You're
You know what I mean?
yeah. Let's plug that.
It's
He's
like
in
if I
Rockingham.
didn't like doing what I was doing, I wouldn't be here. I would
Yeah.
tell Perry,
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't want to go do a guitar clinic in Perth. I'll go home.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? So, but I came over here because I wanted to see the new shop where he's at, right? 2, we were gonna put something together, build a guitar together, and then 3, meet people and do the guitar clinic meet and greet.
Dude,
so
such
that's
a good thing.
I love, and here I am now talking to you.
Dude, I'm
You know what I
totally
mean?
stoked to have both of you here. So like, yeah. But how many times have you been to Perth? Do you like it?
I can't even tell you how many times.
Really? When was your first time then?
1994.
How has
We
sort
played
of
Frio actually.
did ya?
Yeah,
I know there was a riot at one because you guys.
that was later on. That was a few years later.
Oh, okay.
But that was in Sydney.
Yes, I remember it made it Channel 10 News. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
really helped the band a lot. Did it? Yes, because I had to. What happened was Burton lost his voice. He couldn't sing.
Oh
But the promoter didn't tell anybody.
no. Oh.
He just put a sign on the window.
Says,
So when the cue came, everybody was like, "What the hell is this?
yeah,
What do you mean Fear Factor's not going to play?" We paid $90 for a ticket,
exactly.
and so next thing you know, they just destroyed all the windows and people got arrested. And
So
and
even the
it made
supports
Channel
didn't
5
play.
News, right? It was
Channel 10.
whatever.
Yeah.
No. I meant like the 5 o'clock news.
Oh, the 5 o'clock news. Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
That
Yeah,
afternoon,
yeah.
we were all over the news stations.
I think it even made it into one of your DVDs too.
Yes. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I had to stay behind. The band, we had to cancel the rest of the tour.
Yeah.
Everybody else took off. I stayed behind, and I went to Melbourne and Sydney. I did press. I was doing press in the newspaper.
Wow.
I had to do like regular newspaper press.
Sorry, what's a newspaper?
Exactly. anybody who didn't know what that was.
Yeah, we're running out of time, it seems. But yeah, let's keep it going.
So I stayed back and I did
Yep.
national news, right?
Yep.
Stuff that we've never broken into before.
Wow.
Because we're just like in the metal magazines. That's it.
Yeah.
So it really helped break the band. So that following year, 1990, I think it was 6 or 97. I think it was 96. It was the big day out. Sepultura had canceled. So they put a vote of who do you want to replace Sepultura for the big day out. Our name was in there. We won. We won the
Wow.
vote. Because we were fresh in everybody's mind
Yeah, yeah.
from what happened.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Fear Factor. Oh, yeah. So, boom, we did it, and boom, the band, we got a gold record after that big day out.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
That was with like Prodigy. I seen you
Yeah.
posted a photo with that. That's pretty wild, yeah.
Prodigy, Soundgarden,
Have you
Offspring.
met any pricks in the music industry, like artists? That you're like, mate, calm
Yeah,
down.
I don't want to name it.
Yeah, you don't have to do it.
I don't want to name it. Of course.
I would like if you did, but
Oh, of course I have.
but you're a very humble person, man. Is that something you've learnt over time, or like, did you ever have that prick attitude? Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I like people who waste my time. If I'm going into a rehearsal room to write music with guys, whoever it is,
Yeah.
if they're there to waste my time, then I don't want to deal with you.
Exactly,
In
right.
that ways, I can be considered to be a prick. Because if we're going to get on with it, we're going to get on with it.
100%.
You know what I mean? I'm not good with excuses. Oh, I can't go because, like for instance, I'll give you an example. One time, one of my early bands, we were rehearsing at the singer's garage. That's where we rehearsed every day. So one day, came to rehearsal, but the singer didn't show up in his own garage. He couldn't come to his own garage, right? So we're rehearsing. Singer didn't show up. We said, "Oh, something about his grandma is sick, and so he can't come." Well, we found out he went to Magic Mountain with his girlfriend instead of coming to rehearsal, and we had a gig a couple weeks later. So I said, "You know what? Right after I
Importance of
played the
that.
gig, I quit.
Mm.
I literally quit after the gig. I said, screw that." And I went and hooked up with Raymond Herrera, the drummer of Fear Factory. Went and hooked up with
so
him
good.
and started a band, and boom, just
There's Fear Factory.
yeah. So I was like,
Is it true that you lived with Burton and he was singing in the shower to a U2 song? Is that true?
yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
I moved into like this big mansion. It was like 8 bedrooms, and all different types of artists lived in each bedroom,
Oh, wow.
right? And rent was like really cheap, like a couple $100 a month.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, all these different artists, somebody who drew, a model lived there, a comedian.
Yeah.
Other people, other artists live there. And so one day I'm walking by and I heard somebody singing in the shower, and I'm like, yeah, that guy sings pretty good. Next thing you know, we're actually starting a band called Ulceration,
Yeah.
which is pre-Fear Factory.
Yep. Is there recordings of that available?
No.
Oh, man.
No, we didn't. We just had like a little cassette boombox recording. So we did those.
Yeah.
But the songs that came from that was a song called Big God.
Yes, I know that one. Yep.
What are the songs? I think there's a song called Ulceration on Concrete. Soul Wound. Soul Wound, sorry. And then there's like Self-Immolation. Those came from our project.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we brought them over into Fear Factory.
It's interesting to think of like your roots are just so, I don't mean grimy in a bad way, but like you had to struggle, right?
Yeah. But it was fun, man. It was really fun. I mean, I was homeless for like 6 months, sleeping under the freeway, hanging out with other. But when I was a little homeless, it was back in the 80s, and it was more. It's not like it is now.
Was it trendy to be homeless?
Kind of, because you know why? It was back in the hair metal scene.
Yeah.
And everybody, all these young people, were just flocking to Los Angeles to be a part of the scene. Yeah. So I wasn't the only one that was homeless. I was homeless with, beautiful girls that were just on the streets too. And, guys.
It always comes back to
just guys. Guys, well, I'm just trying to paint a picture for you.
Yeah, dude, it's a good picture.
Because people were just coming, flocks.
Yeah.
I mean, flocks of young people.
Yeah.
And they had nowhere to go. So they were sleeping in parks like I was.
Yeah.
Sleeping on the freeways. And I met a lot of people that way. It was great. It was fun. It was actually fun.
Yeah.
You can buy a piece of pizza for 50 cents, and survive like that.
Yeah. Or I guess it's like youth, right? When you're young, you can put up with anything, right? Try and do that now.
I knew all the pimps. I knew all the hookers. I knew all the drug heads, all the drug dealers. Everything that's lived on the streets, I knew them all.
Yeah, mate.
At that time, yeah.
So your 30 years has just been fantastic, right?
It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been a fantastic ride. But there are, of course, some stuff that you wish didn't happen, but things happen,
Yeah, I don't want to focus on that, right? You know what I mean? Like it's let's keep it positive and fun,
But anyways, going back to that Concrete record.
Oh yeah, Concrete.
The Concrete album that never came out. I had a cassette of it, and I was at a music convention called the Foundations Forum, and it was 1991, and first time I met Max from Sepultura at that time. We hit it off right away, right instantly. We're at the bar drinking. I said, "Hey man, I got a band called Fear Factory," and he goes, "Oh, I want to hear it." So
I'd love that you did that.
I played him. Yeah. We went up to his hotel room because he had a hotel room in where the convention was, and so we go up to his room, and he pops it in his cassette player, and he instantly hears it. And he's like, "Oh my god, he fell in love with it."
Can you do his voice again,
and
please?
Then he played another song. And he goes, I keep the demo. I keep the demo. I'm like, no, you can't keep the demo. I need it. It's my only copy. He goes, no, I keep it. I'm like, no. So I had to tackle him and grab the cassette player. Grab the cassette player, and I pulled the cassette out.
No way.
And he goes, I'm going to tell Monty Connor, at the A&R representative at Roadrunner Records. And he told him about it. And then I literally, got a call a couple days later. From the guy, and he's like, I want to hear it. So I made a copy, sent it to him, and he heard it. He's like, dude, we want to do a deal now.
Wow.
Off that demo, yeah.
And it was pre-Concrete. So then
No, it was Concrete.
Oh, it was Concrete.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the demo. That was the album that never came out. But I had a cassette copy of it.
It does sound really good even now, man.
Yeah, I had a copy of it, and so we're gonna do a deal now. And then we went on to do Soul of a New Machine.
Another good one. Yeah, I guess they're all your babies, right? You enjoy them.
So that's how that's how it all, that Roadrunner story and Max, and we've been friends ever since.
And you were even on what is
Nail Bomb.
Nail Bomb. That's insane, right?
Yep.
You were on that one. Is that come from that initial meeting, right?
Pretty much. I mean, everything. I mean, Sepultura took us on tour after that. During Soul of a New Machine, our first record. Took us on tour.
Insane.
I got an insane story about that tour.
All right, yes, we'll squeeze it in. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
So we were on tour. We were in a van. We were in an RV actually.
Yeah.
We were in an RV, and we had a tour manager that was a complete jerk. Right. He was a complete ass, and he just treated us all like shit. But he was really good at what he did, and he was a good sound man. So he did sound man and tour manage. So, but he liked to smoke weed. Right. Him and my keyboard player got in a fight over weed. Right.
Yeah.
So one day, I'm at this show in Seattle, and This guy goes, hey, man, I got this big old nugget of weed. And if you get me in free to the show, I'll give you the weed. I don't smoke weed, by the way. But I said, okay, yeah, give me the nugget. He gave me the weed in a foil. It was an aluminum foil. And he gave me the weed, and then I got him in free to the show, right? And I was like, I'll give it to one of the guys because they like smoking weed. But then I put it in my pocket and didn't think about it. Later on that night, I hooked up with a girl. Of course, it goes back to a girl. Always goes back to a girl.
I love his stories.
I hooked up with this girl, and she was giving me a oral, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the more political, trying to figure out the more political correct words to say.
She was kissing your nether regions.
Yeah. And for some reason, when she was doing that, I was like, I got an idea. Got a great idea. And it just popped in my head. I don't know why or how, but it just did. I pulled the weed out of my pocket. I opened the aluminum foil. And just before I ejaculated, I came inside on the weed in the aluminum foil. I closed it back up. The girl looked at me like, you're an idiot. She looked at me, you're crazy. What are you doing? Like, do you like semen in your weed? Like, what is... And she took off like, you're a weirdo. Right? But in my mind, I was like, yeah, the masterpiece. You know, like, I got this. Oh, yeah. So I let it sit for a day or two. I told everybody about it except the tour manager. I said, I'm going to give the tour manager this weed. Because I wanted to get him back for being such a jerk.
Yeah, yeah. Right?
And I was like, I told everybody on the tour, everybody in Sepultura, everybody in all the bands that were touring with us, right? And so one day he was at the soundboard. Just before the club was open. He was, checking the sound. He was at the soundboard. So I come walking in. Everybody on the whole tour was behind me because they wanted to see me give him this weed.
Yeah, yeah.
So I go up to the soundboard and I said, hey, you've been doing such a great job on this tour. And this kid gave me this weed, and it smells really good. And I want to give it to you, bro, because you've done such a great job. He's like, oh, man, thank you very much. Thank you, man. And I gave him the weed. It was a nice nugget, right? He pulls out his little pipe. He puts it in there. He's like,
in front of you.
He's like, oh, yeah, this is really good. And everybody's laughing. Everybody's on the floor laughing. And he's like, just kind of.
He's like what's going on?
He's like, no, he's just kind of like laughing, because I don't know. He thought everybody was just laughing because he was happy or something, right? So then he goes, anybody want to hit? And everybody's like, no. Everybody kind of like backed off, like, no, that's all you. And so, anyways, a couple years later, I got invited to be on an artist panel at a music convention, right? An artist panel where I'm sitting there with Jim Rose Side Circus. Remember them? Guys from, Dave Mustaine, Megadeth, the guys from Life of Agony, other artists on this panel.
Yeah.
Right?
It was a stacked panel.
So Jim Rose, I don't know if you know who he is, Jim Rose, Side Circus. He was the guy that was doing weird circus acts.
Was that to
concerts.
do? Yeah, he did it with the Ozfest, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. Like lighting himself on fire and hanging themselves with their nipples and hooks and stuff like that. Yeah, just crazy stuff. So he was the host of this artist panel, and so he went to every artist. He goes, "Do you have any crazy stories?" Right, and so when it got to me,
you told
I
this.
Yeah, I got a story for you. Remember, there's like 500 people in this convention hall sitting here listening to this, right? And so at this convention, they also had stages outside where bands were playing, right? And the guy who I was telling the story about was also there working. So anyways, I tell this story in front of 500 people, and everybody was like, oh my God, everybody's like laughing and cracking up. I go, hold on, it's not done yet. I go, the story's not finished yet. The guy who I'm talking about is actually outside on stage 1 doing sound today on that stage. And everybody's like, what? So everybody, I was the last guy who they asked. After that story, everybody went outside to go see who that guy was.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Everybody was like, oh my God, like I killed every other story that was before me.
Yeah,
because everybody was kind of like.
I think.
I mean, Dave Mustaine could have had some really insane heroin stories, but he didn't. He didn't really go into that, right? But I fucking just went. I went for the bomb.
That is,
and it just floored everybody there, and it was like even Jim Rose was like, "That's a good one. That's the best one."
Well, thank you for sharing that with me today. It's a good one to finish this on because unfortunately we've run out of time. I could chat to you all day, Dino.
I got a million stories, and I just want to say one thing before we go.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me here.
Oh, 100%. Thank you, dude.
I had a great time, and thank you for all the support to all the fans for
100%.
the past 32 years of Fear Factory's career, and we'll be back in Perth.
And will you be back on here? Via phone call or whatever?
Yeah, of course.
Phone call? Sweet, Dino. Can I just have you say something lame like you're on the heavy shift with Dino?
Yep.
You want to say it?
Hi, I'm Dino Cazares from Fear Factory, and you are listening to The Heavy Shift.
With Breno Joe.
With what?
With what? I just said Breno Joe. That's my name.
Breno Joe?
Yeah.
Breno Joe or Brenna Joe?
Breno Joe.
Is that your nickname?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that's actually classic. I'm going to use it like that. If you want to say it correctly.
Do it in an Australian accent.
Though. Yeah.
G'day, mate. This is Dino Cazares. Listen here, you cunts. Listen to the heavy show.
Heavy shift.
Whatever.
That fucking show, mate. Anyways, thank you so much, Dino. I've got 3 songs to play you out to. It's Crisis off Concrete, Shock off Obsolete. And Linchpin off of Digimortal. Which one would you like?
Whichever one you want.
Dude, it's got to be Shock for me.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Thank you, Perry. Check out both Fear Factory and Dino on Instagram and Ormsby Guitars.
Dino Cazares.
Dino Cazares.
Fear Factory, Instagram, everywhere.
Everything.
Everywhere, yeah.
And Perry, do you want to give a plug to yourself?
Ormsby Guitars everywhere. Same
Everywhere,
Same tag everywhere. Website, Instagram, Facebook. No TikTok though.
No, we're not young enough for that one. Thanks, guys. Super appreciate it. It's been fantastic. And over and out. This is Shock by Fear Factory.